your instinct. If you're really not comfortable with that and you're RH negative, then go and get your anti-D. This isn't about right or wrong. This is about instincts and what the woman's being called to, and we know what options we have, and they're there if we want to use them. To me, it shouldn't be mandatory. It shouldn't be something that we have to do. And look, I had the most beautiful birth, and there was a lot of people sitting at home off the edge of their seats thinking, you know, I was going to die, the baby was going to die, and all these horrible things go through people's head. But even when I heard some negative stories, I always felt that that wasn't me. Like, I understood that that was theirs, and I also had my cloak of protection, which I'd learnt through the Wise Hippo birthing program. So that program helped me with a lot of, it complemented everything, and just, I think it was something I'd been looking for with all of my pregnancies, but just had never been given an option.
Yep.
So yeah, I became a little bit angry actually for a time. I'm like, this is my fourth baby. Why have I only learnt all of these options now when I've had so many midwife appointments and I've had my 3 hospital births and I have never heard of this. I didn't even know this was an option. So that's kind of my driving force now as a doula, just to let women know that you have options. Nothing's mandatory. You can say no. And it may not be easy, and you do need to stay strong when you're going to say no to something that's quite mainstream. But the more people that are, you know, willing to do that, the more things will change, and you can find support out there. And yeah.
Many years ago, when I first started teaching hypnobirthing, one of my first clients to come along was my niece, Corinne. And her and her partner, it was lovely, so I was able to teach them the hypnobirthing program. And she went on to have a little boy, and she had quite a good birth. It was hospital birth. Then when she was having a second baby, she really wanted to have a home birth. However, home births can be quite expensive. It probably costs somewhere around, I'm not quite sure, but between 4 and 6. You're saying probably 5, around about $5,000 to have home birth midwives in attendance. So anyway, my niece thought, well, I can't really afford the home birth, so she booked into the local hospital. And then what she did was she hired a photographer. She had a doula, got herself a doula, and she wanted me to be her doula, but she lives far too far away, so it was not possible. So she had a doula and she had a birth photographer, and the day that she went into labour, she waited at home for as long as she could, and then she thought, oh, we better get going, I suppose. So she rang her doula, she rang the photographer. The doula said, I'll meet you at the hospital. The photographer came by their house and followed their car. Well, they got halfway to the hospital, and my niece said to her partner, pull over, pull over, pull over. He said, no, we're nearly there. She said, pull over now.
Probably not so nicely.
Probably not. No. Very forcibly, pull over now. So he did, and she lifted her little bottom in the air and gave birth to her baby girl. She was not fearful because she was a hypnobirthing teacher herself. And so she was able to achieve not quite a home birth, but it also wasn't the hospital birth that she wasn't really looking forward to. So this baby came in her own time, and she came in a perfect way. So it was an accidental free birth, I suppose. Now, talking about home birth, a home birth is a birth that's attended by midwives. And the mother during her pregnancy will have gone along for her doctor appointments or her midwife appointments and had all of the testing, blood tests, ultrasounds, and will have had all of that done prior to. Home birthing, there's also an option of home birthing in our local area if you happen to live in the Casey catchment area. Casey Hospital has a home birthing program.
And Sunbury, isn't it?
And Sunbury also has one too.
Yeah. Okay.
Now, apparently these two hospitals have put out this pilot program. How many years has it been piloting for? 4, 5, 6 years? I don't know. It's quite a while.
Sandy, the thing with these programs, though, is if you want to have a home birth, you've got more restrictions if you go through the hospital. So that's what we, personally found.
That's right. The home birth midwives have not only the hospital protocols, but they seem to have a whole heap of extra bits and pieces that they have to abide by.
Okay.
And the women that get transferred into hospitals when they were preparing to have a home birth, it's quite often it's because the midwife feels that that's necessary. Sometimes it is, but not always.
You're bringing the hospital to home when you go through the home birth programs through the hospital. And what I didn't like about it with a client was they drop off their medical equipment a few weeks before you're due to have their baby. So they're sitting there looking at the oxygen machine.
Really?
And I said to her, "Do you want to cover that over with a blanket?" She goes, "Oh, no, that's all right." And I just thought, if you're seeing that every day, I mean, what's that putting in her subconscious?
Yes, yeah.
So it's almost like I don't know, it's like this subconscious, the hospital's there in your home. So anyway, I don't like that about it, but I guess it's kind of a step in the right direction.
It is an option, and as I said, it's been around for 5 or 6 years in a pilot form, and you would think that by now, being that it's been fairly successful from what I understand, but why haven't they brought it out to all hospitals? It should be out by now. All hospitals ought to be offering this. Women in Australia have very, very limited choices with childbirth. Compared to overseas, we are very limited.
Limited choices and less education. Most women don't even know their choices, which is even sadder.
Yeah, I was going to say, Michelle, for your experience, you'd have to be obviously very, very educated. And I'm also curious about these hypnobirthing and Wise Hippo programs. So how does that help in reprogramming your brain so you're not so fear-based?
Well, we have two parts of the brain. If you can imagine a picture of an iceberg, the top of the iceberg is your conscious area of thinking, and the huge part of the iceberg that's underneath the ocean is your subconscious. Every memory, every thought, every word, every experience that you've ever had in your life is in your subconscious. And what we remember in our conscious area is really only a very small amount of information. So all of the conditioning and imprinting that has happened to us during our lifetime, every movie we've seen where it's a life and death situation with childbirth, every story that we've been told by our family members or friends about horrific childbirths, all of these fears have imprinted into our brain. With hypnobirthing and with the Wise Hippo birthing program, what we do is we change the information that's in the subconscious. So the fears surrounding childbirth that are in the subconscious, if you can imagine a computer, it's a little bit like a computer. All of the negative information that's been downloaded into it, well, with the Wise Hippo, we override that with new information.
Okay.
And Sandy, personally, I did the program as a pregnant mother before I became an instructor, so I guess I've got both sides of the fence when it comes to the program, and I just loved all the information that I was being told. I found it was extremely empowering, extremely positive. You get given 5 MP3s that you listen to, and if you don't get time during the day, you just pop it on an iPad. You put it on an iPad, on an iPod, and you can listen to that as you're going to sleep, because it's really about reprogramming your subconscious. And, whoever teaches the program will put in their own flavour, I guess. So Sandy and I are doulas as well as instructors, so we're going to have a lot more stories and a lot more, natural modalities or whatever in our approach with how we deliver it. There are hypnobirthing that is taught from midwives, and you may find that approach is different because they're going to be a little bit more medical minded. So it comes down to your instincts again, doesn't it? When it comes to looking for education and support, go and meet the people that are going to be teaching. You know, check out their website, see how you're feeling about them, what's their belief about birth, because whoever you're sitting with, if you're going to those hospitals and doing their courses, you might learn how to be a good patient, but I don't know that you'll learn a hell of a lot about birth. So, and all those things, as Sandy said, that keeps imprinting on the woman. And we've got a pretty high rate of cesareans today.
Too high.
I'm not going to say that every single one is unnecessary, but there are a lot of unnecessarians, we call them. And yeah, we won't go into that.
Well, I wouldn't mind going into it.
Okay, you go into it.
Okay. I'd just like to say, being that I'm a little bit older and I can recall, and you younger women wouldn't be aware, so I just want to point out to you that back in 1960, if 100 women went into a public hospital to give birth, probably about 2 of them would have had a caesarean section. Now, 100 women go into a public hospital to give birth, and 32 of them are having a caesarean section. If they go into a private hospital to give birth, oh my goodness, could be 50 or 60% caesarean section rate. You may ask why.
Yeah.
I can tell you.
Yeah.
Follow the money.
Yes, it is. It's about money, I'm afraid.
Also, I think we're seeing a lot more caesareans because normal, healthy women are now under the care of obstetricians. And that never used to happen. Yeah. So
right.
Another thing that people aren't aware of, that if you do go to a private hospital, and a lot of young couples particularly have private health insurance and they think, I'll go to a private hospital, I'm going to get better care. Now, what that actually means is you're going straight under the care of an obstetrician, and that probably doubles your chance of having a C-section. Private hospitals, I'm not going to say are always better. They're not always worse. They're not always better. Education, understand what you're saying yes to, and then follow your instincts.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm interested as well because the risk around C-section is greater than natural birth, but there seems to be so much fear around natural birth, and caesarean section seems normal and the safer option.
No, we both want that.
They've also prettied up C-sections.
Yeah.
You know, they kind of make birth look hard and dangerous, but you're really just trading off the hard work for pre-baby to the hard work after the baby, because it's major surgery. This isn't a small little nick in your stomach. This is major surgery. You can't just get up and walk. I've had women in tears, you know, one in particular who recently shared her birth story. Yeah, brought every woman in the room to tears. She said, all the things that she thought that she was going to do, she couldn't do with her baby. Yeah. And, you know, she's going to be carrying that with her now. So we're not just cutting women open, we're spiritually cutting them open.
Another thing that's happening too is that while we've got so many C-sections, 41% of C-sections are a result of a failed induction.
Yeah.
So when women are getting to their estimated due dates, and quite often even at 37 weeks, obstetricians will suggest that they have an induction. And I remember many years ago, before I got onto my doula journey, that's exactly what happened to my daughter over in England. She was giving birth to her first child. I'd taken my elderly mother over there. We were over there for a couple of weeks for the birth of the baby. My daughter was 10 days past her estimated due date, thinking to herself, oh goodness, Mum and Gran are going to be going home soon and the baby's still not born. So she rang the hospital one day and they said, oh, come in and we'll induce you and you'll have your baby in your arms by this evening. Well, she succumbed to that idea and she went into the hospital and they gave her the induction drugs. And guess what? The induction drugs didn't work. Yeah. And I'll tell you why. Because she was given them on the day of 9/11. Now, when 9/11 happened, there was so much fear. Oh, my goodness, it was palpable. It was in the air. You could cut it with a knife. I was sitting out in the hospital waiting room watching